co-founder of Entrepreneurs HQ. We've organized this Cold Email Success Summit and bringing you today Steli Efti, who is the CEO and co-founder of Close.io. Now, just in terms of his experience, he's been training thousands of founders, sales directors, sales reps, and all specifically on how to generate predictable revenue in their business. So, mate, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good, good. So now, do you want to just maybe give a brief overview of your background and how you got into cold email?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Greece, born and raised in Germany, so offering the very ends of the opposite spectrum of the European culture there. Dropped out of school when I was about 17, 18 years old to start my first business. And did a few very small businesses back in Europe, all bootstrapped, all with all nothing to do with technology really, and quite a few of them, pretty successful. And then 10 years ago, I sold everything I had, bought a one-way ticket to San Francisco because I wanted to build a technology company. So I arrived here 10 years ago. The first business was a soul-crushing failure and defeat, and the second company has become quite a success, and mainly the reason why I'm invited to speak to lots of conferences and events like this one. So if I had an entrepreneurial superpower, it's definitely sales. Throughout my career and all my businesses, I've probably sent many millions of cold emails. And the most relevant business is the business that I'm running today. We had started as Elastic Sales, and what we did was we offered B2B companies, tech companies in Silicon Valley, an outsourced sales team on demand. So we would go out there, run all kinds of experiments in how to write cold emails, how to schedule demos, how to close deals. And once we had a model that was predictable and scalable, we would hire lots and lots more people and scale the sales organization for these companies. And we did that for over 200 venture-backed startups that were in the B2B space here in the Bay Area. And along the way, obviously, we learned a ton about what works and doesn't work when it comes to cold email, but we also built an internal tool called Close.io, which at first was just built for our own needs, and eventually got so powerful and popular that we decided to release it as a separate product and offer it to the world. And it quickly outgrew the services business. So since 2014, we've been fully focused on the software side of the business and be running that. And Close.io is an inside sales CRM that basically, if you do sales through emails and calls and through kind of inside sales communication versus going and knocking door to door, we've built the most powerful inside sales CRM in the world. It's been used by thousands. And there's, I don't even know what the current number is, but it's many millions of cold emails sent through our system every single week and month. So I have a soft spot when it comes to cold email and helping founders figure out a successful strategy. Then that's what we're going to talk about today.
Great. I think this is fantastic to have, the experience that you've got, as well as the business that you've got, sending millions of emails every week or month. A lot of experience there, especially with the 200 startups you worked with as well. I'm sure that testing, you learned a ton, and you've brought it and narrowed it down to 2 specific emails you want to talk about today, which is pretty cool. I think that they're these 2 ones that have had really a big impact and that you want to just share with founders and entrepreneurs, B2B salespeople here listening today. So firstly, why these 2 emails? Why are they so important? Why have you picked them out of all the ones that are out there? And what are they?
So the reason why I picked those 2 is because they come at the very end of the kind of journey of you emailing somebody, right? The reason why we email people is not that we like to send emails, right? The reason why we email is because we want people to respond and to convert into a next action step. Usually it is getting on a call, setting up a meeting, answering some basic questions so we know if there's a potential fit and if they qualify for a product or service. So the email is really just a vehicle to get the right person to respond to us, right? So what I want to focus on is on that end of the funnel when it comes to the email journey that you send out, which is you've sent a cold email, people didn't respond, which is going to be the majority of the time. Even if you have the most amazing cold email on this planet, more people are not going to respond that are going to respond. the first time you send it, right? That's just the reality of it. So, for most people that are listening to us today, hopefully you have a little bit of a game plan where you don't just send one email, and you cross your fingers and you hope people respond, but you have maybe a sequence. Maybe you realize that you'll have to ping people a few times just to get in front of them and in front of their inbox at the right time where they can respond. So the 2 email templates that I want to talk about and share with the audience today are templates that live at that place where you've sent somebody an initial email, you follow up maybe once or twice, and you haven't heard back. And if you use one of these 2 or even both of them, you'll see that the response rates you're going to be getting, during all that silence period is going to skyrocket, right? Because there's many reasons why people don't respond, and these emails help address some of these reasons. So that's why I wanted to dig into it.
Very cool. I think, yeah, this is interesting. And if you've watched the earlier sessions, we covered that where it's, it's not just the first email. You have to follow up, and you have to follow up multiple times. And this is pretty much, are these the last like 2 emails that we're sending, or where does exactly does it fit in? Is it the final ones?
Yeah. So the one of them, the last email that I'm going to share is pretty much the last one that we sent. The one that we're going to share first, that is flexible, right? You could actually use that fairly early in the funnel and see what kind of results you get there. But you could also, if you have a sequence of very strong emails and you like them, you could use it a little bit later to kind of squeeze the last little bit of responses out of the people that you're trying to get in touch with. So maybe we just want to jump right into that first template.
Yeah, let's do it, mate. People have come here to hear these 2 emails that you picked out of all the millions that you've sent. So yeah, I'll let you lead off. Yeah.
So the first email template that I want to share with people is the 1, 2, 3 email hack. So that's how it's a very simple process. And in many cases, we've seen this increase the response rates by 400, 500, 600%. So the basic idea is this. Oftentimes, when we send out an email, there are the problem why people don't respond. There can be many reasons, right? They might not be interested. They might have never seen your email. There's many reasons. But one core reason what makes it difficult for people to reply and respond to your email, the friction that you're putting in front of them when they want to get in touch with you, is that they have to make a number of decisions, and then they have to verbalize these decisions and communicate back to you what is going on in their world, right? They have to decide, is this interesting or not? Why is this interesting? Do they understand what you're offering? Do they have time? And just even that second, and we've all had this, like you read an email, you're kind of intrigued, but you're not fully sold yet, and you're kind of thinking, what should I write here? That second is enough for you to go, well, I'll deal with this later, or to get a call or get distracted because there's a notification that somebody pinged you on, Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And the moment I'm out of that email, boom, you've lost me, right? Now for me to come back to your email as more and more emails are trickling into my inbox is going to be unlikely. So what we want to do with the 1, 2, 3 email hack is we want to alleviate all that friction, and we want to make it as simple as possible for people to respond. So here's how this typically looks like. Usually you send this as the 3rd or the 4th email, but it's not the very first one typically. But I've seen people that even tried that and had some success with it. And the basic idea is that you ping them and you go, hey, I've gotten in touch with you once or twice. I told you what we do in a nutshell, and I haven't heard from you. This makes me believe that there's one of 3 possible scenarios going on here, right? Number 1, this is just, you're interested and intrigued, but this is very bad timing. So I should just follow up with you again in a month. Number 2 is, this is absolutely not a good fit. You already have another solution in place, and no matter how many times I would follow up with you, you would never respond to this. And number 3, and now you can be a little humorous if you want to. You can experiment with, but I've seen great success with people just going a little funny and saying, number 3, you might have had an accident and you're like somewhere, stuck in your house, and you want me to call 911 or whatever. It's something funny there, and then you write, all I ask you to do is hit the reply button and give me a number. Is it number 1, 2, or 3? So just so I know, right? So what you basically do is you're giving out all the possible scenarios that are likely, And then you make it easy for me because you tell me, hey, dude, all I'm asking you to do is just click reply and type in one number. Just type 2 and hit send. So I know what is going on. So I have context. I understand what's going on. And you wouldn't believe like how big of a difference this makes. People, once they read through it, it's a little bit of a different email. It's not like the typical, salesy, let me send another long email trying to pitch you on why we're amazing. The numbers that we have, like on one of the campaigns that we do, is that we went from a 7% response rate to a 39% response rate, right? Where we would follow up again and again and again and again. And instead of just sending one more email that said, hey, I wanted to just get in touch and you had a chance to read my email, I'd love to hear from you. Instead of keeping it like open-ended and pushing kind of the decision-making on the receiver to now reply and explain to you what's going on, you just offer them 3 options. One of 3 things is likely. Number 1, 2, or 3, please just hit reply and give me the number. And people see great success. And the funny thing is, sometimes it doesn't even matter what they respond, right? I've seen many cases where people will respond, it's number 2, I'm never going to be interested. But then they go, and by the way, really cool email. I've never seen this. This was really smart. And that now cracks up the door to have a conversation. So now you reply and you go, hey, thank you for the compliments. Thank you for the honesty. I'm super surprised because we have lots of companies like yours use us. If you ever get a chance to just expand on this for a sentence or 2, if I can send you a Starbucks gift card and get 10 minutes to get you expert advice on how we can succeed in your market or whatever it is, you can just find another way to extend that, because once somebody replies to you, now we have a chance to have a conversation. But oftentimes, if you do a good job in your lead gen, on the lead gen part, and you don't email people nilly-willy that should never receive an email from you because they're not good prospects, the majority of the time, they're actually going to tell you it's reason number 1. It's just bad timing. And again, the moment they respond, it opens up the door. You'll see that you'll get a lot of these people to eventually jump on a call with you and to further explore if it's a good fit or not. Just the simple thing of like giving people a few options and asking them to just give you a number as a reply versus giving you sentences and explanations alleviates so much friction and will increase the engagement and the response rates dramatically.
Yeah, let's be honest here. Like, people aren't sitting there waiting for your email to come in. They don't want to be necessarily sold to. The timing might not be right. And you're then sending them something that you're making them think and reply, and it's like, it's just ugly, right? And you're taking away all of that, just saying, hey, reply 1, 2, or 3. Don't think about it. There's no thinking. There's no creativity. Just let me know 1, 2, or 3, super quick, and it eliminates all maybe those barriers to, that opening that door, just like, a small amount.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how like friction is the death of all conversion, right? And even just writing a sentence, having to formulate, is it, hey, Stelly, thank you for your email. Right now might not be the right time, but I'm kind of intrigued. Or is it, hey, thank you for your email. Can you send me more information so I can send it to this other person on the team? Like, even just making a decision how to respond and what to say is enough for most people to never write this and to just decide to get back into their inbox and look at the next email, right? Because they just have this 1 second where they're not sure. So I say, this, that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure will always translate into I'm not going to take any action on this. And what we want to do is we want to make taking action so simple that it's harder to leave that email than to reply to it, right? It's harder to make the decision not to hit reply and send, just type in 2, send, the number 2 and send, than going back and thinking about it some more. So, it's very simple psychology, but it can make a really big difference.
Okay, I feel like you're eliminating that whole idea of spending time thinking about it. So you are saving time for the person. The emails, I mean, short, succinct as much as possible. This one specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. I'm on one of 2 ends. Most of the emails should be as short and succinct as possible, right? Because you want to display that you respect their time and your time. You want to get to the point. As I'm opening the email, especially from somebody I don't know, all that goes through my mind is, what the fuck is this? What the hell is this? What do they want from me? What is that? What am I supposed to do here, right? So you want to answer these questions as quickly as possible. Now, that's one. So, and this email should be on the shorter end as well. if you break that rule of being short, you better be really long, right? But then you need to be really good at copywriting and write something that's so compelling. It's such a storytelling type of vibe that I start reading it because it's just interesting and it sucks me in. And the longer I read, the more it's hard for me to stop reading because I've spent all this time reading. and then by the time I'm done with reading, I'm like so committed to this, right? That I might feel, again, worse not responding than responding. There's very few people that are good at long form copywriting. It's a whole art form that needs to be studied. So most of us are not going to be good at that. So, I strongly advise to be on the shorter end. And I can share some of these templates for these 1, 2, 3 emails with you, so you can share it with the audience. We can give it to them directly. And people, if they want to get there's a little ebook template that I have with a bunch of these email templates in there, and the two that we're discussing as well. They can just shoot me an email, stelly@close.io. Just type in email template, cold email summit or something along those lines, and I'll just shoot you that ebook for free. But yeah, short, sweet. Hey, I haven't heard from you. This gives us 3 options of what is possibly happening in your universe. Number 1 is you're not interested. Number 2 is bad timing. Number 3, maybe there's something else that you think is common. And then, just for good measure, put in something funny. Number 4, you stumbled and you're stuck. Someone with a broken leg in your house, and you need to call 911. Right? Just do me a favor, hit reply, give me just a number, and then I know what's going on in your world, and I don't have to keep bothering you to try to find out. Right? And that's the basic format, and it works really, really well.
Yeah, and the whole idea of just opening that door just a slight bit, adding the humor, I think it's a fantastic idea, because if they haven't responded before and you haven't added any humor, maybe this humor is just going to get them over the line and go, yep, I really love this email for XYZ reasons. You made me laugh, you made me smile, you brought me happiness into my day, whatever it might be, you stood out. I think just getting them to open that little door just a little bit to start the conversation, as you said. The subject line,
Yes.
Any particular ones that have worked with this strategy?
Yeah, so before I said that, one thing on the humor, I even had one person once tell me that they got a reply from somebody saying it's number 3, which was like, I'm kind of a broken leg to call 911 or something. Right? So the person obviously was using that humoristically, just replied with a number 3. And then he replied and said, dude, give me your address. I'm on the phone. You're speaking to the 911 operator. All I need is your home address, and we'll get you out of there safely. And then the person replied, oh, okay, you got me. Let's jump on a call and quickly talk about what you're offering, right? So that again, humor can open up a door for engagement, for people to feel comfortable talking to you. When it comes to subject lines for this, so you could use this in the threaded email, right? Just as a reply to a prior email that you sent. If you send it out as a unique email with a unique subject line, the best results I've seen with the simple subject line, is it 1, 2, or 3, question mark, right? Or is it option 1, 2, or 3, question mark? It's a very intriguing subject line, right? You go, what are those 3 options? And I'm not a big fan of writing subject lines that get people intrigued but have nothing to do with the reality, right? You can trick people into opening your email, but then they're going to feel like you're dishonest with them, so they're not going to want to engage in a relationship with you. But this is actually, although it's a short and very activating, very curiosity-inducing subject line, it is very much the promise of the subject line is delivered in the email. So this is the best one that I've seen in terms of getting really good open rates. Is it 1, 2, or 3, question mark?
Awesome. All right, I think we've covered that quite nicely here, just in terms of the time that we have now. Have we covered everything, or is there anything else you wanted to finish off with before we move on to the second one?
No, let's go on to the second one.
Okay, I'll let you jump into the second.
Yeah, so the second one is usually the last email you should send, right? And you could break that rule, but we'll cover that in a little bit. But it's typically the very last email that you send. And that email template is called the breakup email. So in this email, we follow up with them 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And now we're sending an email to break up the relationship with that person, right? So the basic psychology is that, once you offer something, you offer something, you offer something, you offer something, something, sometimes that pushing is really just pushing the person further and further away from you. So what you have to do is at some point you have to stop and take it away from them, right? To create a pull reaction. And I first saw this from two very different companies. One is a B2B company that sells to large organizations, sells a very kind of complicated marketing automation tool. And the other company that used this is a company that's like a B2C company that's used to send like boxes of kind of expensive fashion item to men that don't know how to shop or where to shop, right? And both these companies, I had signed up for a trial, right? I wanted to trial the product. And you know, in both cases, basically, they sent the first email. The first email was like, "Welcome to the trial," or "Welcome to our platform. When can we set up a time to demo and talk more and discuss whatever next steps?" I ignored those. And the second email was something along the lines of like, "Hey, you know, I try to get in touch. What would be a good time? Yada yada yada." I ignored those. Then I got another email that was basically like, "Hey, you know, I tried to call a few times. Here's, you know, a PowerPoint presentation. Here's some more material. Here's some more facts and figures and numbers why this would be really useful." I ignored those numbers. And then both of them, independently, those are two different independent companies. The email that I responded to in both cases was the breakup email. In one case, it was saying basically, "Hey, I assume that this is just not the right time. So I'm going to take you off my email list. You'll never hear from me again. Here's my contact information. Whenever you decide that it's the right time, you get in touch with me, and I'm going to be excited about it. But for now, you know, I'm deleting you from my database. I'm not going to get in touch with you anymore." Right? And once I got that email, my reply in both cases was basically, no. You know, I am interested in this. Just the timing was bad. And once I realized, it happened the first time and I didn't even realize it, but the second time it happened, I was like, holy shit, this is very, very smart. Once you take something away, oftentimes you make it much more valuable. And we're in such a world where everybody's pushing that we never even hear somebody going, "You know what? I'll back off. You'll never hear from me again. I'm taking you off my list," right? So the breakup email can be incredibly effective. Again, just basic human psychology. This obviously won't work if somebody decided that what you do is absolutely not interesting to them, right? The breakup email might not work and it won't get any response. But if there's even the slightest doubt, if the person was even just flirting with the idea a little bit, maybe this is interesting, but it was not interesting enough, they were busy with other stuff, there was no reason for them to really take action, the breakup email is so powerful and effective because those people will actually fear that they'll never hear from you again. And they'll go, no. It's usually really always like, no, let's talk. I just the bad timing, this, that, or the other. And so you know, you have to be careful on how you phrase things, right? You don't want to be a douchebag. You don't want to be overly aggressive. You know, subject lines in this email typically will range from something like goodbye from Stelly, like goodbye from, you know, either a company or even better, in my opinion, your personal name, yourself. Goodbye from me is very activating. Again, I'm like, goodbye from Stelly? Who is Stelly? Why is he telling me goodbye? And it's actually, again, very truthful. I deliver on the promise of the subject line in my email. The other thing that I've seen people use is should I stay or should I go, question mark. It's also kind of cute. It's nice. It rhymes. So those are two very strong subject lines for this email. And then again, the structure is basically, I've tried many times to get in touch with you. I've gone way beyond to try to have a conversation with you. And I have to assume at this point that for whatever reason, it's not the right time. I'm going to take you, this is actually really powerful language. I'm going to take you off my list, or I'm going to delete you from the list of people I'm trying to get in touch with. Like that, for whatever reason, is a very powerful way of expressing this. I'm deleting you from the list of people I'm trying to get in touch with. And I'm going to give you all the power to get in touch with me whenever the right time is. Here's all my contact information. When I hear from you, whenever that is, I'm going to be super excited. But for now, this is the last time you hear from me. I hope you're having an awesome day. And hopefully I hear from you at some point, right? And that, you know, breaking up with them, telling them goodbye, telling them you'll never hear from me again, that can be kind of the last email in your sequence of email that will get the people that were a little bit flirting with the idea, a little bit thinking about it, not that sure that it's absolutely not something they want to entertain. It's going to get those people activated and responding to your email.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and we use something similar for not for our cold emails, but for our email list subscribers, and we do see a great response on this. But I do see that, you know, you have to be quite careful on, yeah, as you said, the aggressiveness of it as well, because you don't want to, you know, you're taking something away from them, and so maybe they're feeling already like, oh, I want this back, and there's a thin line there, right?
Yeah, you have to be careful not to come across as aggressive or passive aggressive, and you don't. So the last thing you want to do ever with any email you ever send is to make somebody feel guilty, right? Don't make people feel guilty, because they already feel guilty that they haven't responded to you. If you make me feel even guiltier, I will never respond to you, just because I feel horrible and I don't know how to deal with that emotion. So the best way to deal with that is to hit the delete button and, I'm moving on with life. And we've all felt this, that we all have probably somebody in our inbox right now waiting for a reply, and we feel a little guilty we haven't responded yet, right? We all know that feeling. So you want to make it as guilt-free as possible to interact with you, because then people will feel happy with it. So yeah, you want to be careful. You want to take the blame and say, hey, I've tried to get in touch with you many times. It's probably the wrong timing.